Chief, you can't make excuses for it, bro. We all love Serena, but it might be over. I'm not saying that she should quit tennis. Because like I said, before you start talking that bullshit, what did I say? I said, HRapB, I can still play, but you lose fast twitch muscles after the age of 35. Now, I'm not saying that you can't play, but this is what I mean, Cool Sales. That was my man Cool Sales said that. All I'm saying, Cool Sales, is this. At your age now, if you play you at age 25, what would the score be? One-on-one basketball to 16. If you play you, what would you be? I ain't never seen you touch a basketball, but I'm quite sure the 40-year-old Cool Sales will probably lose 16-8 to the 25-year-old Cool Sales, because he'll be blowing past you, like you said. You used to, he didn't say, Chief, you full of shit. He didn't say, like I said, Cool Sales, if you played the 25-year-old Chief Rocker right now, if you played the 25-year-old Cool Sales in a one-on-one to 16, how much would you lose now? Because that young you would be, like you said, the fast twitch would be gone, and he'll be cooking your ass. Because I know when I was 40 and still in decent shape, the 25-year-old me would have fucked me up. HRapB, you are correct. Do you see that, Chief Rocker? Huh? Do you see that? Talk about Jeter was 256 is good for Jeter. Boy, if you don't get your ass out of here with that nonsense, Chief Rocker, you sound crazy as hell. But back to what I was saying, man. I think somebody else just came in the room. Knox said something. I thought I saw Knox say something. It's time for Serena to be a coach for the sport. Shout out to Knox. Chief Rocker, again, get your ass out here. I ain't trying to hear that, Chief. It ain't nothing wrong with getting old. And it ain't no amount of rest she gonna get that's gonna make her the old Serena. It just might be up. It might, like Knox said, it might be time for her to retire. Maybe she can win a couple of these Rudy Poop contests on the side, the Rogers Cup, the Lil Greg Cup, and all that. But that dominance is over, man. She might even win this U.S. Open. But hey, that might be her last big time tournament one. Cool Sales said, HRapB, you are correct, but the 40-year-old Sales is more wise. Yeah, we know more, but the young Cool Sales, if the young Cool Sales and the young HRapB played the old Cool Sales and the old HRapB, I don't think we can keep up with them, man. JB Jennings said tennis is a young person's sport. Would y'all tell the number one Chief Rocker that, man? Somebody text Chief Rocker. It's a young person's sport. I know he's still listening. You know what, Chief Rocker, you didn't force me to go ahead and give it to you.
Sit your ass down. Sit your ass down.
Damn, that was at JB. I ain't gonna go there. But like I was saying, before Chief Rocker starts trying to stick up for people, get out of here. On the serious side. What was I saying? Oh man, you can fuck me all the way up, Chief. This NCAA back on this nonsense, man. And I don't care what nobody say. And we're gonna talk about this a little more. Me and Chief, I was talking to the homie DJ Knox today, and I'm gonna talk to Chief after the show. But what I'm going to do is to me. This whole I've been listening to people all day talk about this Chris Paul rule. The NCAA created a rule saying that you needed a college degree to talk to people who were considering going to pro for basketball, and now they've rescinded that rule. To me, most people who saw this rule considered it a race-based rule. They called it the Rich Paul rule, and then everybody started coming out with all these excuses. And to me, when you come up with these cockamamie excuses, why this nonsense is going on, I believe this is why people get discriminated against in this country. And I know you may think, hey man, that's a far-fetched situation, but it's not. It's truly not. When you make excuses for blatant racism, blatant discrimination, this is what allows people like Donald Trump to be the president of the United States, because you always have an excuse of why. Everybody can't afford college. Everybody's not meant to go to college. Some of us are good with our hands. Some of us are musicians. Some of us are artists or what have you. So college may not be where our mind is at 18 through 22. You may have to mature and go to college. So when you make a rule to whereas, like, you know who the perfect example of this? I'm not saying he didn't go to college, but Chief Rocker. Chief Rocker went to college, said college wasn't for me. He went to the Navy. But Chief Rocker has mad charisma. Chief Rocker is a person who can communicate with all people on earth. No matter what situation you put him in, he's going to excel in that situation because he has the skills, even though he was wrong on that last argument. He has the skills to communicate. You don't learn that in college. Chief Rocker is just like Rich Paul. If you show him this is what we need to do, this is what we need to get done, he gonna go communicate that. Rich Paul, that is a skill. Rich Paul and Chief Rocker have that ability to communicate. You can't teach that in the boardroom. You can't teach that in the classroom. That is learned through life skills. So when you say you have to have a college degree to do something, you saying, I don't want the Chief Rockers and the Rich Pauls of the world doing this, because at some point you guys will take over. And that's where the racism comes in at. Because you know what? There are Latino people that do it that way. There are Asian people that can do it that way. There are black people like Rocker and motherfucking Chris Paul, Rich Paul. There are people they're women. And when you say you have to be at this level, well, maybe I'm not interested in going to school, but I can pass your test and I know what you need me to do and I can communicate. You eliminate the Chief Rockers of the world. You eliminate the Rich Pauls of the world. You eliminate the Latino people. So the fact that they backed off real fast makes it more than obvious that this was something racial. See, the NCAA, if you ask me, is skating on thin ice in our community to begin with. Because you got people, I'm not going to name no names, but you got people who are watching from our communities and their coaches, and they're going to start sending their kids to other institutions, even though those institutions are still NCAA. Just imagine, this is another point that I want to bring up with you guys today. Just imagine if the coaches of the youth our youth start communicating with the coaches at these reputable HBCUs. Because don't get me wrong, I understand that there's some crooked ass HBCUs out there as well. But just imagine if all the HBCUs got together and they start communicating with all the young brothers as coaches, and we start funneling, like Chris Broussard said, funneling our children into these schools, and then we create our own version of the NCAA. There will always be other people to cross over, but if 40% of us who are athletes start going to HBCUs, our schools will be equally as valuable or even more valuable than the Dukes, the North Carolinas, the Georgias, the Alabama, so forth and so on. Because for one, most of those schools are in the South. Land is cheaper in the South. The dollar goes further in the South. And at that point, we can lower the tuition and then make it so anybody who wants to go to school, they can. See, we have a situation here in America, whereas people from the impoverished communities, no matter what walk of life you are from, you believe they're rich and affluent folks, their water, their ice water is colder than ours. And it's not. Ice is 32 degrees no matter what side of the fence you stand on. So instead of having a Cool Sales, a number one Chief Rocker, a Rich Paul, And so, like I said, Kusel, because he worked with kids and other people who have the influence, they have the ears and the loyalty of these young people, and a cat like Chief Rocker who can talk his way into it or put you in a better situation. Because, hey, I'll be honest, me and Chief Rocker had a conversation before I ever switched over to Spreaker, and the brother invited me into a situation, and that's how we become friends now. So, and he didn't finesse me. He just presented an opportunity to me, and I took advantage of it. So this is what they are afraid of. They don't want the number one Chief Rocker Jersey Verns. They don't want the brothers. There's a bunch of good brothers out here who work with young people, like the Cool Sales, like my former coach Jimmy Fields, like this cat that's in Chicago, Lefty Boy, who run a basketball tournament. They are trying to squeeze those dudes out. Contrary to popular belief, if you ask me, again, this is just my opinion, that's what that whole gym shoe scandal was about. The middleman in our community being able to guide his young people to where he wanted them to go. And the sneaker companies understood it, and they wanted to cut it out so the head coach would get paid, and the school would get paid, and the kid get exploited. But when you got the Jersey Verns of the world, the Rich Pauls of the world, and others who know how to communicate with our young people and communicate with mothers and communicate with families, they don't want that. And that's just the way I see it. My man J just said, HRap, I hope it happens, but these kids love the exposure. Are they willing to sacrifice? That's two things my man JB said, and I addressed those immediately. The thing is, JB, we don't really need the JB 5-star athlete to be at an HBCU. Because you know what? Every time we turn on our TV, baseball, basketball, or football, we see somebody from Rudy Poo U, a school we never heard of, and DeMarcus West kicking ass. Antonio Brown is kicking ass. James Harrison is kicking ass. Brandon Marshall's kicking ass. Some of the best athletes, Joe Green, Michael Strahan, some of the best athletes, some of our favorite athletes came from schools that we never knew of. They were 5-star ability athletes, but for whatever reason, they got overlooked. We need the overlooked kids to focus in one direction, because when you can kick ass, no matter what school you go to, Earl Monroe, no, it might not have been Earl Monroe. Is it Earl Monroe? Iceman George Gervin, Ben Wallace, Willis Reed. If Chief was on here, he'll give me some more. People. Can't think. A lot of these guys come from HBCU. Avery Johnson comes from an HBCU. So if you can play, or if the dude who intercepted the ball in the New England Patriots Seahawks Super Bowl came from Alabama State. So if you can play ball, you will get a shot. But if we start focusing on the second tier athlete, or even the dudes that just overlooked, Larry Allen, Hall of Famer, came from a very small school. So if we can get those guys to focus on HBCUs, there's no limit to what I'm talking about. I got Chuck D in the building. Ed Too Tall Jones. I got Chuck D in the building. Please hit that Abby. Follow that brother. He has a good show, man. You see the name Chuck D, he's going to hear a good show when you hit the Abby. Click on the Abby. Please follow Chuck D. And while you at it, I want y'all, since y'all on here, tell a friend to look up Built for This Network and hit the follow button. Like I was saying, I believe this is our opportunity, because one of the problems is I'm a girly girl in the building. Thank you for joining in. New Max Radio's in the building. See, we keep asking people, why you treating me wrong? Because they want to. Because when somebody treats you wrong and you ask them why you treat me wrong, to me, that's when you open the door for them to continue to treat you wrong. If you say, I ain't going for it no more, then people start negotiating. So no matter, it is just a situation to whereas the rich and powerful are controlling the narrative, and they keep dividing us through region of country, through what you look like, who you pray to. Hey, enough of that. Y'all know my motto: family,